50 years ago this month, WHAS dropped a bombshell investigation exposing allegations that illegal gambling and prostitution were prospering in Louisville because the local government was receiving a percentage of the take. The 2-hour special first aired in 1971. Tonight, we're digging into the WHAS 11 vault to bring back that historic footage.
The purpose of the special programs on Channel 11 tonight and tomorrow night is to focus public attention on crime in Louisville.
Documentary-length programming was nearly unheard of on local TV news before WHAS released this 2-hour special.
The telephone rings every 15 minutes or so with results from tracks all over the nation.
The piece focused on politicians and police receiving money from the handbook operators in exchange for not enforcing gambling or prostitution laws.
You are watching the inside of a Louisville bookie joint. Posing as a regular customer, WHAS reporter Clarence Jones carried a concealed movie camera into this betting room to photograph its daily operation. During his visits between October and January, neither the bookies nor the bettors discovered the camera. This film, and much of the film you will see tonight, is the result of 8 months of intensive undercover investigation. We call it Louisville Open City.
An experienced investigator teamed up with a WHAS reporter to do the digging. Very few were aware of the investigation until it hit the air.
Gamblers, prostitutes, and policemen who know Louisville call it an open city. That means that gambling and prostitution are allowed to operate openly here, with the knowledge of the police, the prosecutors, and the politicians.
Louisville Open City exposed more than 350 bookie operations.
Leroy Hollis' book has the atmosphere of a friendly neighborhood tavern. Many of the customers are working men in khakis and dungarees who bring a beer with them. Friday and Saturday afternoons are particularly busy.
And the hidden cameras caught police turning a blind eye to prostitution.
There is an off-the-record belief among many so-called community leaders here that prostitution is good for the city. If Louisville is to become a convention city, the argument goes, it must provide girls and games for the visiting conventioners.
In the days after the 2-part special aired, the station received hundreds of phone calls with additional tips. Letters arrived after that. State lawmakers and the Kentucky Attorney General asked to see the program's script to investigate the claims of corruption. Within weeks, the bookies and club owners shown on film breaking the law were arrested and charged, and local judges cracked down on enforcing penalties. Commonwealth's Attorney Tom Wine was in high school when the expose hit the air, but he says he remembers it.
I was a junior in high school, and there was talk at high school, at Atherton High School, about some of this stuff going on.
He says compared to 1971, much has changed in the way of gambling in Kentucky.
Back in the 70s, if you wanted to have an operation, a booking operation, you paid for protection. All that's changed now. Everything that was illegal is now legal. Not completely. I mean, there's still some restrictions, but just about everything that you would have arrested somebody or charged somebody or tried somebody for back in the 70s is everyday commonplace now.
Another noteworthy difference over the decades, accountability. Wine says the work WHAS did on this series was part of a major shift in how journalists started checking those in power.
Reporters were much more active during that time period than they had been before, when they were simply reporting the news. It was kind of handed. But now all of a sudden they were actively involved in doing undercover operations. So it was a big change back in the 70s.
We think this report is convincing evidence that the time has come to change that practice. The future of Louisville and the future of the democratic process are at stake.
Half a century later, Wine says the reminder of what went wrong is worthy.
If you don't look at those stories, you're not going to remember how people took advantage of the situation, how people bribed elected officials, allegedly, bribed police officers, allegedly. Those type of things cannot be forgotten. We have to remember so that we don't repeat those mistakes.